Verbally Effective, your double E, Ina Esco here. Thank you guys so much for joining me yet again for another episode of the Verbally Effective podcast. You know, I talk to so many movers and shakers out here in the Mid-South, and I have an extremely talented young lady on the pod with me today. I'm very excited that she is joining me. Her name is Carmeon Hamilton, and she is an interior designer, a lifestyle blogger. Let me tell you guys, I had watched a video of her organizing her shoe closet. It was set up. I was totally inspired, but I think I need some one-on-one attention from Carmeon. Now, she is HGTV's Design Star Next Gen winner. We're going to get into all of those wonderful deets. Carmeon, how are you today, beautiful?
Hi, Ina. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. You know, the weather is warming up, people getting outside. How is that working out for you?
I wish I could see outside a little bit more, but, getting ready to shoot a new show is keeping me busy and tons of Zoom
Ooh.
calls and meetings right now. So I'm
Yes.
glad the weekend is approaching so I can get out and enjoy this weather.
Yes, you got to get that business straight, though. I
Yes,
understand.
ma'am.
I understand, you know, the life of an entrepreneur and,
Indeed.
you know, TV going on. So we're going to
Yes.
jump all into that, Carmeon. But let's start at the beginning. Where are you originally from?
I am originally from right across the bridge, West Memphis, Arkansas. It's where I was born and raised.
Yes. Now tell me about growing up in West Memphis, because that's just, you know, a stone's throw away from Memphis, over that bridge that's cracked.
That's cracked and
That's
shut down.
cracked. Look, not the old one, the new one, but
The new one. Oh
okay.
my gosh. Yes, it is a stone's throw away, even though a lot of people in Memphis try to disown West Memphis. I mean, I need y'all to get over it because we
Yes,
are one, we're only separated by a little bit of water.
that's it.
But growing up in West Memphis, was very like we only came to Memphis to go out to eat and go to the mall. So I didn't have a connection to Memphis until I actually moved here with my family 9 years ago. But growing up over
Wow.
there, I was a straight A student from kindergarten through high school. I played basketball, was on a
Okay.
state championship team, got basketball scholarships to college, but turned them down because I also got academic scholarships. And I
Okay.
wanted to live. I grew up and followed the rules my whole life, never got in trouble. And I was like, I'm going to college. Like, I want to know what college is like. I didn't want to be tied down to a basketball team. I wanted to know what spring break was like and Christmas break and summer break. So I went on an academic scholarship to the University of Central Arkansas, where I majored in physical therapy for 2 years.
Wow.
Um,
Why physical
I,
therapy? Why physical therapy?
well, being well, one, my parents were like, you go to school, you get a good degree, and you get a good job. And physical therapists, they come straight out of their program making almost six figures. And like, it's a lot more lucrative than a kinesiology major
Right.
or thinking I'm going to be some sports trainer. I'm like, no, if I'm going to do this, let me broaden it. And physical therapy was the way to go. And that's actually why I chose UCA, because of their physical therapy program. They were the top physical therapy program in the South at that time, and
Mhm.
probably still is, I'm not sure. Um, but I got there, did 4 semesters, took on way too many hours.
Wow.
And I went from being a straight A student to like an ABC student and was like,
Yeah.
this ain't it. I don't I don't
Yes.
want to do this, and realize I just don't like science like that. And I was like, I can't study this 2 more years, but
Ooh.
became a resident assistant after losing my scholarship because there was a D in there somewhere in like a
Wow.
chemistry or something. But that was when I took on 21 hours in one semester. Like, I overdid it. I was an
Yeah. I
overachiever.
don't see how you did it in 21 hours. Well, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do
Couldn't do it.
it.
So in losing my scholarship, to make up for that money lost, I became a resident assistant where, they pay for your room and board and things like that. And that was the first time I had my own space. I had my own dorm room in one of the dorms on campus, and I got to decorate it any way that I wanted to. And with the help of my mom and one of my mom's friends who was a seamstress, like I got custom curtains made and custom bedding. My room was hot pink and zebra at the time.
Okay, hot pink and
Which was
zebra.
hot back in like 2008, but
Yeah,
I'm not trying to
I
revive it
remember that.
anytime
I
soon.
remember
Yeah.
that.
But I
Wow.
rearranged the room, the space planning. I just created this tiny little loft studio apartment in this 12 by 12 center block wall room. And so one of my fellow RAs walked in and was like, you really need to figure out what you're doing with your life. You need to check out the interior design program. I didn't even know our school had one. They were newly accredited the year before. And so I checked it out the next day and immediately changed my major.
Wow.
So I changed from physical therapy to interior design. And now I have a Bachelor of Science in interior design.
Amazing. Now, wait a minute. So it wasn't until you became an RA and you designed your room, that's when it really kicked in for you, Carmeon? Or like, your room at the house wasn't nothing like that?
So my parents gave me the freedom to create space in my own room. I had one of my friends who was an artist. The point of her coming over was to paint a mural in my room, but we played around way too long and it never finished. But I had vision for it. But even then, I didn't know there was a career in interior design. I didn't know that was a job. Like my mom created a beautiful home and she helped out a lot of her friends, but I thought it was something you just did for fun. She was very fashionable. So I just thought that translated into home decor, but
Right.
never in life did I think it was a profession until I was in college. I had no idea.
Wow. Amazing. Now, I know you said you had the scholarship, you were, physical therapy major. Were your parents a little disappointed at the
Oh,
change?
honey. Oh, honey.
Now, you
Honey.
grown at this point, but you know how
Ooh,
parents can be.
good and grown. And I'm like, okay, I have these loans in my name now. But when I told my mom, she was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. My mom was an educator. And
Okay.
my dad worked for Conwood here in Memphis he actually retired there. He worked there for 28 years, but he was very strict about my sisters and I making good grades and getting a good job. And good job was doctor, lawyer, accountant, like
Yeah.
everything that we're taught. And so when I told him that I was switching my major to interior design, I could have told him that I was majoring in coloring books. Like he was so
Oh,
upset. He immediately just went off and was like, "You're never gonna make any money there. That's not even a real job." Like he didn't know that interior design was a profession too. So he thought I was wasting time in college, wasting money, majoring in something that wasn't a real job or a lucrative career.
yeah.
So yeah, I took that chastising for weeks,
Yeah.
but told myself I'm going to prove him wrong. I actually graduated college early. I finished school in
Okay.
3.5 years, thanks to taking those 21 hours
Amen. Amen.
in the beginning. So I finished school early,
Okay.
and actually was offered my first job a semester before I graduated. I had a senior seminar class where we were presenting to our professor these presentations, and she had just so happened to invite one of her colleagues who was the VP of an interior design department for a healthcare company to help her judge our presentations. I was the only one in class with a final presentation, completed presentation, and
Mm.
her colleague offered me a job on the spot. And I was like, well, I still have a semester left of class. And she said, I'll hold it open for you. And she did.
Amazing, Carmeon. Oh my God. I mean,
Yeah.
this was like totally meant for you. Everything lined up, sounds like.
Everything from becoming an RA to today, everything has just completely fallen in line. That is legit how my career has gone over the past 15 years.
Wow, amazing. I did hear you mention your sisters. Tell me about you and your sisters. Are you guys close? How many do you have?
I have two sisters. My older sister is my dad's daughter from a previous relationship. And then my younger sister, my parents are both my parents and I. So I grew up in the house with my younger sister but lived with my older sister when I was in college. So yes, we're all very close. We don't talk often we're that weird family that's like, we call each other when something's wrong, or if it's been too
Gotcha.
long, those people. But they are my absolute favorite people to be with. We have the most fun together. I am the middle child and am middle child to the core. Like, I'm a Libra. I
Libra.
can be, yes. So, loved by many, I like to say.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Wow.
But little sister is a Virgo, and older
Ooh,
sister, yes,
my
yes, and
mama a
she
Virgo,
is
honey.
one to the core. So
Yeah.
she's the city girl of the group, and then my older sister, she's the more conservative and reserved one, and I can be either or depending on what's happening. But I love
Yeah.
my sisters, and they're two beautiful souls, and I'll probably call them today just to mess with them.
Wow. It sounds like you have a very close-knit family. I heard you mention as well that all throughout high school you played basketball, but that's not what you chose to continue to do in college. Do you still pick up a basketball, Carmeon?
Today I don't. I in sixth grade, right before going to junior high, I just knew I was going to be a cheerleader because I was a gymnast in elementary school. I just knew I
Wow.
was going to be a cheerleader. And I found out you couldn't be a cheerleader in seventh grade. And so the basketball team came recruiting the sixth graders, and I told them, I'm not going to be a basketball player. I'm going to be a cheerleader. And they were like, well, you can't be one in the seventh grade anyway, so just play basketball. And I had never picked up a basketball before then, but tried out and immediately made the varsity team in seventh grade.
Mm.
Just naturally
You was cold.
vetted. I was cold.
I bet you was. I bet you
Actually good
was.
at it. So seventh grade through 10th grade, like 11th grade year, I got the sixth man award. I got to go to the all-star game as the sixth man. Like 11th graders don't get to go to the all-star game. It's for seniors, but I got to go. We won a state championship that year. I was team
Wow.
captain my senior year, and the scholarships came, but I never had a heart for it. My heart was
Yeah.
never in it. It was just the talent. Like, I have
Yeah.
the talent, but this is not what I want to do with my whole life.
Yeah.
And so thankfully I had the grades to have an option when it came to college.
Yeah, it's always great that you have those grades to get that academic scholarship because I was the same way, Carmeon. I was straight volleyball. I did volleyball in college my first 2 years, but it was a dual scholarship, so sports and academic. And then I pledged. I was like, you know what? I'm not playing volleyball no more. Like, let me keep my grades up and like have some fun, right? Because that's a big commitment in
It is.
college.
It
NCAA
is.
rules. Oh Lord, the
It
travel.
is. And my best friends were seniors my 11th grade year. So I got to see them go off, and they never got to come home. They didn't get to come
Mm-hmm.
back and see, like, I never saw my friends again. And that's what really turned me off. Like, my best friends are gone. They're playing basketball at the collegiate level, but I will never see them until they graduate unless I go to their games.
Right.
And I said, if I play, then I will totally never see them again. And so they complained about not being able to have a spring break because basketball consumes every break
Yeah.
of the year. You
Yes.
get a couple weeks in the summer, but you don't get Christmas break, spring break, none of that. So
Horrible.
I was like, no, I'm not about that life. I don't
No
want it.
social
I don't
life.
want it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you
Mm-mm.
made all the right decisions, Carmeon. Let's talk about once you graduated from college and you had this job already lined up for you. Tell me about how it was entering into that entire, at this point, professional interior
Yes.
world as a Black
Yes.
woman. Let's talk about that.
It was even more surreal as a Black woman. So I moved from Conway, Little Rock area to Fort Smith
Okay.
and worked for this huge healthcare company. The building, it was like the biggest building in Fort Smith. And I think there were about 1,000 employees in the building, but I only remember seeing 3 Black people in that whole
Mm-hmm.
building. And they were 3 Black women, and I came in as the third. So I'm in this corporate space. It was a healthcare company. So everybody in this building did something different related to this healthcare company. It was a company that owned about 300 facilities across the country, from hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living, physical therapy clinics. And they had an internal interior design department, and that's the department that I was part of. And so I was a part of taking on 10 to 15 projects at a time and renovating these buildings. And I got to travel all across the country to these buildings, trying to improve their looks and better the lives of the people that had to be in those spaces. But I was introduced to so much more than just the world of interior design. I was partnered with a project manager who I had to travel with all the time, and he was this older white man. He was probably 65 at the time, but he made it a point to show me life and not just work. So when we had to travel to Napa, he made sure we got to eat at the very fancy restaurants. And if our project was outside of DC, he made sure we drove through DC to see the cherry blossoms blooming. So he made sure that I got to experience all of these other things outside of work, but also seeing this, apparently this little Black girl that's never been anywhere. He made it his point to show me so much more than just what it was like to be an interior designer or working for this company. And I did that for 4.5 years, and hit 48 states in those 4.5 years. It was the best job I could have ever had, especially coming straight out of college. I learned so much. And, after a while, I still never saw Black people in the circles that I was in, especially not working in interiors, maybe the construction part, but never not in project management or architecture or interior design. So I was always one of few, and it never really dawned on me until probably recent years, in the last 3 or 4 years, where I've moved from commercial design and healthcare to retail, where I have to go to market, and I'm the buyer of a furniture store buying for 4 locations, and I have to go to market and I get to see all these things before they hit the masses. But I'm one of few at market, and there's thousands of buyers and designers that go to market every year, and there's still very few Black people at those markets. And just the one-on-one interactions with people there, where depending on how I wore my hair, they may not remember me from seeing them 6 months before. I'm having to reintroduce myself all the time. And then being the show pony, especially when I had my loose natural hair. And I would wear my hair in a fro just because that's what I did naturally. But being the fascination of all of these non-Black people in spaces like market, it was a true turnoff. And that's when I became more aware of how few of us there are in the interior design industry, in all aspects of the industry.
Wow. Yes, because, honestly, until I guess maybe a lot of reality TV with interior design, but you see the same people, it's not a lot of us that are represented. And I looked up some statistics, and in the interior design world, it's basically that space is 85% white, right? 2% African American. So you are a part of that 2%. And I just heard what you said, going to market, seeing design, seeing everything before they hit the market. That has to truly be an experience. But being the only Black person, or one of very few, how does that make you feel, Carmeon?
In the beginning, having been the only person of color in the room, it became something I was numb to. I didn't even notice it for a long time because I got so used to just being the only. But as I became more aware of my own historical background, doing my genetic testing and finding out that I'm, Nigerian, and also becoming more culturally aware as an adult, because we're not taught Black history in public school at all. But over the last 5 years, just becoming more aware of Black culture and historical importance of our positioning just in this society, it became more and more aggravating to be a part of these spaces and not see more of me. And then you begin to realize how we've been othered and excluded from this industry. It's hard to be an interior designer when you haven't had access to buying a home. Like you can't decorate something that's not yours, or you don't feel, you know, uh, responsible for the spaces when you're in them if they're not yours, if you don't own them. So it's hard to treat interior design as a profession when you don't see people that even own homes that look like you. So, or spaces in general, not even just homes. Thinking about public spaces, if there are interior designers behind every space that we go into,
Yes.
and if you don't see or experience Black people don't see themselves in those spaces. So it creates this vicious cycle. If I can't see myself in it, I don't know anything about it, therefore I'm not a part of it. And that's why there's so few of us in the interior design space, especially we never see ourselves in it. Like you said, on TV, we don't see ourselves on these huge design networks.
Right.
So we don't know it's even a possibility for us. You don't even realize it's a career.
Wow, interesting. But I see you are saying steadfast in your mission and in your goals, Carmeon.
Indeed. Indeed.
Okay, that's what I love about you too. I mean, like just watching your social media is, like I said, inspiration within itself.
Thank you.
Let's talk about okay. I know you're from West Memphis, but I also know that you network with a lot of the people in this space that I probably even had on Verbally Effective.
Mm-hmm.
You all are connected.
Several.
What does that community look like in this area? What does the interior design space look like in this region?
You know, interior design is still very white in this region. I wasn't truly a part of the interior design space here until I started to work for Stash Home, who's a furniture retailer that's no longer with us. They went out of business last year. But I worked for Stash Home. They worked with lots of designers. Lots of designers would come in. But there were very few Black people shopping that store at the time anyway. So that was another space where the interior designers that came in they were mostly white men and women, or actually they were all white men and women, and working with Stashes who sent me to market, and where I noticed the elitism there. But I partnered with Arts Memphis, an arts organization here who puts on Art by Design every year, which is a showcase of interior designers. And I got to participate in 2018, and I was the first Black interior designer to participate in Art by Design. So that was my true introduction to the interior design world here. And being the only participant that was Black, like meeting the other designers, that was incredibly eye-opening to me, just to see how these people even just ran their businesses. Like I came in, Stash sponsored me, so they gave me the product to put in my space, because even participating in Art by Design, like you have to pay to participate because it's a fundraiser. You pay to participate, and then you have to fund the space that you create and all that good stuff. So if I didn't have a sponsor, there's no way I could have participated. I was sponsored, someone sponsored my admission fee, and then Stash gave me the furniture to use. But then I had to rent the truck to get it to the space. I had to unload the truck myself, set up my space myself. But then I walk in and I see these teams, these designers that have warehouse delivery companies that bring their stuff in. They just stand back and point, and everything gets hung up for them. And I'm over here sweating and dying and breaking my back and like
of it all. You
of it all, but it's just so much that I didn't know until that moment. Like I had no idea that these companies existed just to house the product that interior designers use, that they deliver it, they come hang it up for you, they take it down, put it up, like just so much that you don't know until you're inside the circles of these groups. And so I use that as an opportunity to, one, network with these fellow designers, to find out more of what I didn't know. But after that show, I went back to Arts Memphis and went like, this is a great idea that you guys have, but you're never going to have Black designers be a part of it if this is the setup. Like, if they have to pay to participate, they also have to fund their space. So I actually was hired by Arts Memphis in 2019 to be the designer liaison, to help figure out how they could reformat Art by Design to increase Black participation. Because I'm like, you can't have something in Memphis and have no Black people there. Like,
right.
it's just not.
70%.
It's not a good look. It's not a good look.
Not at all.
I created a platform under them called the Emerging Designers Initiative, where their spots were sponsored. We got sponsors to help contribute to their spaces, so they got furniture and wallpaper and rugs or whatever they needed to make their spaces come to life. And so that's where, you know, Quita Tate and David Quarles and Brandon Jones, like all of these emerging designers that now have a chance to showcase their work to the city and give them a chance to see the things that I saw. Unfortunately, Art by Design didn't happen because COVID happened right like 2 months before Art by Design was supposed to happen. So they didn't get their shot, but I brought them in and made sure that they were seen and got to network with all of these other incredible designers who were established and had these networks. And so I made it my mission to put everyone that followed me up on game, the same game that I got. I wanted to, you know, ease the path for them so that they didn't have to go through the same struggles that I had over the, you know, previous 10, 12 years. Yeah. So now the interior design community is, I feel now that I'm much more immersed in it and have brought in more people with me, the community here, like, it's still very underground. A lot of people don't make Memphis synonymous with interior design, but we have some of the coolest people here and some of the most creative people here. Like, you walk into places like Arrive and the Memphian now, and you'll know that a Memphis interior designer was behind all of these spaces. So yeah, some of your favorite places to be, a Memphis designer created that space. So yeah, I love the community now, but I'm also part of the blogging community. I've been a blogger for as long as I've been a designer, but that's how I met Kim Thomas, who's now my photographer, and working with her led to all of these vast relationships that I have with other bloggers and other businesses here. And it's truly, those are the relationships that feed my soul and my creativity and that keep me pushing forward to wanting to showcase everything that Memphis has to offer.
Yes. And do you think that you are satisfied with the changes that are going on now after, you know, all of your experience, everything you introduced to Arts Memphis? Are you satisfied with the changes, or is there a lot more work to be done?
There's absolutely more work to be done because we are not in any leadership position in any of these spaces. So we are now, you know, seen at the events. We're a part of the clubs, but we still have no say in how things are moving forward. So there's still a ton of work to be done. I'm glad that there's now a little bit more awareness of how things can be very elitist or segregated. But there's absolutely more work to be done. There's no satisfaction. There's some appreciation, but satisfaction, not yet.
Yeah. And do you think that's only going on in this area, or is this something that you think is going on for African Americans, like nationwide?
Oh, this is everywhere. This is everywhere. And Memphis actually has it good because of our African American population. Like, there's so many of us here, we get to have a voice. But everywhere else, when, you know, the African American population is 13% the way it is average across this country, they don't get heard. And so
Yeah.
those areas don't think they have a problem.
Wow.
So yeah, we still, Memphis is much further than most, I will say, but it is still absolutely a worldwide problem.
Wow. Now I heard you mention blogging. You've been blogging as long as you've been designing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about your blog world. You being a content creator. Let me start this off. Have you always been so sharing? Have you always been comfortable sharing to the max?
Absolutely. My blog my blog started with me talking about my relationship with my husband. Because the T is like we met in college. We I was pregnant with my son almost immediately after accepting that new job. Like, and we were long distance. We got engaged, but I called off the wedding. And so everyone that knew us was trying to figure out what happened. We thought we were coming to this wedding, and then there's not a wedding. So I wrote about it. I blogged about the whole thing. So I've been sharing my whole my whole life's existence since post college. And so,
Wow.
and my mom always taught me, like, if you no one can shame you about what you share
That's true.
openly. Like, I have no reason to be embarrassed. I'm not ashamed of anything that's happened to me that I've done. Losing my scholarship, being sued by a client, like, I'm not embarrassed by any of those things. They're lessons that have pushed me forward. And so being able to share that only makes me more human and opens the door for other people to feel better about their shortcomings and just realize that they're human. So no, I've been an open book since the beginning.
Yes. I noticed that you're very comfortable doing your posts. Like you're a natural. Like you've been doing this for a long time though,
For a
right?
minute, for a minute.
Wow. Okay, let's talk about HGTV's Design Star Next Gen winner. Tell me all about this entire world with this HGTV Design Star. What is going on? Tell me, give me the tea. What's the deets? What's
The
going on?
tea. Okay, so last year, when COVID hit, that was the first time I made my business virtual. And so my business grew, like, my business tripled in a matter of 30 days, like once I decided to take my business virtual. But right before that, I got a casting message from a casting producer on Instagram. I just got a DM that said, we want you, we think you'd be a great asset to a show that we're doing. Can we get you on to do an interview? And up until that point, I'd done several like casting interviews because, the goal, once you've built a career and I felt like I had something to offer the world, like I wanted to be on TV, like HGTV is the next step. How
Yeah.
do we get there? And did a ton of casting calls, even did several with one of my best friends who's an interior designer out of Sacramento. Like, we were pitching ourselves, but always got the, you're great, but you're a little too unique, and
Mm.
was turned down every time or would be ghosted and wouldn't hear back. Like, so I was a little jaded by that process. And so by the time this producer reached out to me last year, I was like, no, I don't want anything
Like
to
I'm
do with
good. I'm
it.
good now.
Yeah, I'm good. But he assured me, he's like, no, we think you're perfect. And so I went through this whole process, and then COVID happened, and didn't even know if the show was going to happen, didn't even know what show I was auditioning for, until the end of last summer, when I got the call and they were like, you're a finalist, we want you on the show, we want you to come to California. This is for Design Star. We're reviving Design Star, which was HGTV's highest rated, franchise show.
Yeah.
And the last time it premiered was 2013.
Oh.
So it had been years since Design Star had come back. So I was excited that the show was coming back, but I was like, I didn't plan on competing for my own show. I just thought I was going to get my own show, but now you're telling me I have to compete for a show.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
was not excited about that. And then my business was already doing great. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to leave at the peak of my business to go compete for a chance to have my own show. I'm like, this don't sound ideal at all.
Okay.
But my best friend and my husband were both like, look, you're an interior designer and you can have your business for as long as you want it. But how often are you going to get the opportunity to be on TV doing what you do?
There you go.
So I was like, okay. And I did it. I was gone, had to disappear from the world, from the internet, from clients, everything for 5 weeks. I had only set a goal to just make it through the first challenge. I was like, just girl, don't get eliminated first. Like it's gonna be real embarrassing for you if you do that. But essentially had this mindset of you only have to be better than the worst person. Just keep moving forward. Like I didn't set a goal to win. I wanted to be good enough to make it to each level. Like that's how you make it to the end, is just getting to each level. And I did. And to hear my name called at the end, even to the very end, I was like, they're not going to call my name. But the sigh of relief and the thought that I had accomplished something so great just was so overwhelming. Like, I'm so glad that they edited the show down.
Oh Lord,
to what it was.
We want to see the behind the scenes.
I was ugly crying during my acceptance speech, and by the time I finished, everybody was crying because that competition was the hardest thing I've ever done. And like I said, my interior design journey has kind of been ordained where things have just fallen into my lap. So I've never really had to work for something or compete for something. I've always just been really good at everything, but to have to compete and win, like that was the first time I put my career on the line, put my whole livelihood on the line, and then to come out on the other side and have achieved this monstrous accomplishment, like it was overwhelming. And I was away from my family for forever, what felt like forever.
I know you was missing hubby
and son. Oh, honey. So to think like I sacrificed my time with them, and I was like, if nothing else, I'm doing it for them, and then for it to all be worth it in the end. Like that was the sigh at the end. Like it was all worth it. And so now, I got to walk away with my own show and $50,000.
Okay, that come in handy, huh?
And like we're literally in pre-production right now. We start shooting here in a couple of weeks, and I told them I don't want a show if it's not in Memphis, and they agreed.
Yes,
they agreed.
The whole crew from Cali to the M.
Everybody is coming to me, so we're shooting here in Memphis this summer. So I'm so excited about what this is going to bring to the city of Memphis.
God, congratulations.
Thank you.
I am so happy for you and so proud of you. Just even listening to your story, being a Black woman in this space and ultimately, achieving this goal. Like, you the best. You hear me?
Look.
You winning, you the best. You got your own show. You hear me? Pop it. Now, what's going to be the name of the show? Or you can't tell me yet.
So it has an official title. I don't think it's hit the public yet. I don't think they've done the press release yet, but I am working with renters here in Memphis. So the network has finally answered the call of a lot of their viewers. Like half of this country is renting, not buying. So where's the rental content, HGTV? Show me something where we're not completely gutting out this space. And so they are basically utilizing me and my show as the launch pad of rental content for the network. And so I am working with renters, people that have chosen to rent here in Memphis, renting houses or townhomes or whatever, and then making over their spaces so that they feel more like home, even if it's just temporary. But it's part docuseries as well, following my life after winning Design Star. So you'll get a lot of behind the scenes on what's happening here at home and things that are happening in my career, along with working with rental clients for the show.
Wow, congratulations. So are you like in the process of filming now? That's what's going on.
We are in pre-production now. The film crew will be here in a couple weeks. like literally a week and a half or so. And we'll start
Oh,
filming here in a couple weeks. So
exciting. So
yeah,
you've
every
already
day.
selected your renters that you're gonna work with. You lined them up.
Yep.
Yes.
That's all happened. So
Oh,
yeah, we're having meetings every day, going through the design process, going through all the Memphis hotspots we're gonna be hitting up and all that stuff. So
I'm
that's
so
what's
happy
happening
for
now.
you. That is
Thank you.
amazing. We're gonna see
Thank
you on
you.
TV. We're gonna see some of these Memphis folks we know.
Yes, yes. I'm so excited.
But you know what? Like Memphis is everywhere right now. We're finally seeing some of our faces around, right?
Finally, the world is trying or needs to be catching up to with how amazing this city is. And I wanted to be a part of that too. Like,
Yes,
look at Memphis.
you're
It's
doing
more than First 48 and all this other
right.
mess that people see. Like, this city is so bomb. And that's
Right.
all I want the world to know.
Wow. Okay, so while you're filming your show, pre-production right now, you're going to be filming. What about your own business? Like that's still put on hold for now, or you got people to do that? You delegate now, like
So,
it's
well,
like
I am definitely building my team. But I put my business on hold while I went to shoot Design Star, and actually came home right before Thanksgiving, and it was just too much to try to
yeah.
build then. So I just stayed on a break until now. So I have a few clients right now, but we'll still likely hold off on bringing in more clients until we're done with the show, because now I have 6 clients in my lap for the show. It's a 6 episode series. So I'm working with them. And then once we're done with all the major stuff for the show, I'll open up my waiting list again to my
I'm
own
waiting list.
clients. Yes.
I love it. I love it. Now, when can we see the show? When is the premiere? And the
I
premiere party. I want to come.
I don't know if they've released that either. Now that I think about it, I have been told a date, but I don't get to say anything until a press release happens.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
this year, it will air this year. So
Gotcha.
that's
Yes.
all,
Well, I'm gonna be
that's all I
keeping
know.
up, honey. I'm gonna be keeping up with you to see how everything is progressing. Once
Absolutely. I'll
again,
keep you posted.
congratulations. I'm so, girl, I feel it inside. I'm like so happy for you.
Thank
Now,
you.
you know what? I want you to tell the verbally effective audience, what do you want people to remember about Carmeon Hamilton when you are no longer here? What do you want people to know about you?
I want people to know that my only mission in life was to be an example and to show people that life can be lived beautifully, from the small and minute to the major life events. Everything can have a beautiful purpose. And, I'm all about aesthetics and the pretty things like the cute outfit or the well-designed space, but every aspect of our lives can be lived beautifully, like your cup of coffee in the morning to, spending a little time walking outside. Slowing down and appreciating those moments is what life is about, not the major destinations. And that's all I want people to know.
Yes, Carmeon Hamilton. Let everybody know how they can get in touch with you and keep up with your journey, all your business with
Absolutely.
HGTV. Oh,
Yes, yes. So I am on Instagram all day, every day at Carmeon Hamilton. All of my platforms are at Carmeon Hamilton on Twitter and Facebook. My website is carmeonhamilton.com. That's also where you can read my blog where I talk about everything.
yes.
But you can, if you're wanting to work with me, there is a work with me page on my website, and there's a form you can fill out, and you can get in contact with me there. But carmeonhamilton.com and Carmeon Hamilton on all social platforms is how you can find me.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Carmeon, for joining me today. You were definitely a treat. Just listening to your entire journey, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the triumphs, and you still moving through. You still
Still
out
here.
here making
Still
moves
here.
popping your collar, popping your ish. And I
Amen.
applaud everything that you're doing. I'm so proud of
Thank
you.
you.
You are indeed verbally effective. And thank you once again, Carmeon Hamilton.
Thanks,
Yes.
Ina.